Hey guys, this is Kevin Dorman, the voice of Chris Redfield, and you are listening to the Resident Evil podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to the Resident Evil podcast, episode 5. Today we are joined by very special guest, actor Kevin Dorman. Kevin has done a lot of work in the Resident Evil series. He was the motion capture for Leon Kennedy in Resident Evil Damnation, and also Piers Nevins in Resident Evil 6. He voiced one of the most iconic characters of all time, Chris Redfield, in Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles and the new Resident Evil Vendetta movie that's out now. Speaking of Resident Evil Vendetta, I announced last week that in celebration of the Residents of Evil hitting 3,000 subscribers on YouTube, that I will be giving away a copy of Resident Evil Vendetta on Blu-ray. Well, it looks like we have a winner that I'll be announcing after the interview with Kevin, so stay tuned to the end of the show for that. Again, I want to give a huge shout out to each and every one of you guys for all the support. I'm so thankful and I'm really excited for the future of this channel. Alright, in this episode, AJ, Tony, and myself weren't available to join Ali because we got Kevin on the show super short notice. But Ali's friend Sev joins him to chat with Kevin and they really did a great job. You guys are really gonna like this episode. Alright, let's start the show.
You've done a lot of work in Resident Evil, just from what we've researched and everything, and you've been in quite a few entries, whether doing a voice or the motion cap. So this is a really cool opportunity for us.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
So the first question is, some people, going off of your work in Resident Evil, some people know or may not know this, that you've actually done more than just Chris Redfield in Vendetta. You've done Chris in the past on Umbrella Chronicles?
Correct. Yeah, then, voice of Chris in Umbrella Chronicles.
And you've also done some motion capture for Leon in Damnation, and then you did Piers Nevin in Resident Evil 6, is that right?
Yep, correct.
Awesome. So Umbrella Chronicles was back in 2007, over 10 years ago, and we've seen Chris since then. Did Capcom contact you all about returning as Chris for RE5 or RE6?
No, they did not. I actually was slated to begin 5. But I was stuck in New Zealand working on Avatar. So that was when they went ahead and did the recast.
Right. I can definitely understand why that may have taken your priority.
Yes.
Speaking of Avatar, real quick, are you coming back for the future?
No comment.
No comment. Okay. We'll leave it at that then. We're excited for that, and that's going to be awesome. Just the whole universe behind Avatar. But and just to introduce you real quick, this is my buddy Sev. He's joining us, so he's going to take the next question here.
Hey Sev.
There, Kevin, this is Severin here. Just going to ask you, in RE6, you did the motion capture for Piers Nevins, and in Resident Evil Damnation, you did it for Leon Kennedy.
Yes.
Were you surprised that you were hired for Chris's voice again instead of doing the motion caption for Leon and maybe even Chris in Resident Evil Vendetta?
I'm not completely surprised. I guess people could argue the opposite of what I'm about to say, but Capcom actually is kind of loyal to keeping people doing the same thing as much as they can, and I think they really like Ruben as the motion for Chris, and I love Ruben as the motion for Chris. So I think
he did great. He really did great. Yeah. The action was phenomenal in Vendetta. So
yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, even your work as Leon in Damnation was awesome. You really do a lot of stunt work and motion cap, and you were really, really good as Leon. So
yeah. Oh, thank you.
And then Pierce as well.
Yeah, I guess Capcom being familiar with me, I had a leg up. I still had to audition for all those projects.
Okay, yeah.
But I think that having them familiar with me definitely helped me out, because they kind of like to go with what they know. And
right, already familiar with you, and they know how your work is. So
yeah.
So I guess that leads to the next question. You were talking about auditioning, so you did audition for the part. Did you audition for both the motion capture and the voice acting, or just the voice acting for Vendetta?
For Vendetta, they only asked me to audition for the voice, so I would assume they always intended on keeping Ruben as the motion for Chris.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Going back to Umbrella Chronicles, that was your first time in Resident Evil. How did you wind up with that part? How did you get into the Resident Evil universe?
I actually got that job through Ruben.
Oh,
because we were working on Avatar together at the time, and he had his hand in kind of the casting of Umbrella Chronicles.
Oh, cool.
And he just one day at work, we were talking, and he goes, "Hey, do you do voiceover?" And I said, "Well, no, I've never done a voiceover job,
Right.
And he said, "Well, I'd like you to come audition for this." So I did, and ended up getting the part, which was like, even though I was working on Avatar, that was like the coolest thing in the world to me, because the character of Chris Redfield is so iconic.
Right.
And like that was my first foray into playing video games, was playing that first game with my brother. And to me, it was just so cool to actually to step into that role.
They're going to love that, because, I mean, we're all hardcore Resident Evil fans, and a lot of our fondest moments, or even first gaming moments, was Resident Evil. And tying in the fact that you just talked about playing with your brother, like Sev is pretty much my brother, and him and I, the same experience. We spent many nights playing Resident Evil 1 and 2, just staying up all night drinking Mountain Dews, like young kids just playing games. So it was awesome.
It was every weekend experience.
Every weekend experience,
He would come over and we'd do, Resident Evil all night,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Yeah, I love telling the story to embarrass my brother, because he's 3 years older than me. And we used to play, and then after we were done playing, we'd go up to our room, and he'd push his bed up against mine because he was so freaked out by playing the game.
That's funny. So you're obviously very familiar with the games then. So you've done, were you a fan of Resident Evil before you did Umbrella Chronicles?
Yes. I can't say that I had kept up with it as much as Resident Evil 1. But yeah, I quickly familiarized myself with everything and kind of got back into that mode.
There was a question on the YouTube page. I just had it up, but I can't remember who had asked it. And I apologize to whoever asked this question. You will get your recognition. But talking about, you had done some voice work for 5 before you got wrapped up in Avatar. What had you done? Because they were saying there was a trailer that came out that it sounded a lot like your voice before they went with Roger.
Yes, there was one trailer that was my voice that we actually recorded while we were doing Umbrella Chronicles.
Oh, cool. Yeah, because they weren't too far apart. I think 5 came out in late 2008, early 2009.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So yeah, that would make sense that you were there about that time period to start doing for the next project as well. So
yes.
How was it doing Umbrella Chronicles? We had talked to Alyson not too long ago, and she had talked about doing Darkside Chronicles. That it was such a different aspect of recording instead of like her normal game, voiceovers. That it was a lot of she compared it to like filming. They kept referring to Cloverfield, that it's constant go, intensity.
Yeah, that, especially that game in particular, it was really fast paced, trying to get through things. And they were more worried on that game about staying true to the Chris Redfield voice from Resident Evil 1 than they were about really exploring new aspects of Chris.
Right, because it is a retelling of 1, and that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. So there wasn't, it wasn't necessary to kind of dive into some of the, what would the character do here or here, because we were kind of going by the roadmap of what had already been laid out for Chris.
Right, exactly. Because it's a retelling, so you're following what's already happened, but adding your work into it. So
yes.
Okay, interesting.
Did you do the recording sessions here in the States, or did you have to travel overseas to the main studio in Japan as you were doing Resident Evil Vendetta?
Vendetta, all the voiceover was done here.
Okay.
Awesome. All the motion capture was done in Japan.
Right.
But yeah, so they do all the motion capture first, and this time they recorded facial at the same time as motion capture.
Okay.
So a lot of the work is done. The pacing of the scene, Ruben, puts his spin on it, and then I kind of come in at the end, and we go in a booth, and they basically play the movie over.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And we kind of throw in the dialogue and match Ruben's pace and his lip flaps, and Yeah.
That's what I was wondering, if when you go in the studio in the booth, if you actually see the movie as you're doing the voice work for it, and is the director there kind of coaching you along?
Yeah. So there's a booth director from the United States, Alexander Von David.
Okay.
And he kind of directs mostly the session, and then the movie director is also there, and he'll kind of throw in things if he hears something that he wants a different way.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So he's there to kind of to guide you to what they expect it to sound like, and then you produce as far as what you're seeing and what they're telling you and what you're reading. So
yes.
Interesting.
Yep, exactly.
I know a lot of the recording sessions are very independent. You guys don't work with anybody else in the booth. It's just you recording your parts and they match them up later. But did you have a chance to meet any of your fellow castmates before the recording sessions or anything before the premiere?
No.
Okay.
I didn't run into anybody at the studio.
Okay.
I knew Matt Mercer we've done several projects together, so I've known him for a long time.
Interesting.
At times if I'm doing a scene and the person I'm doing it with has already recorded their VO, then they would play that against me, so I would have something to work off of.
Okay, yeah, so you kind of know how they're projecting and everything, and their voice and everything.
Correct.
The personality they're giving to that scene. So, yeah, I was about to ask that too about Matt. So you did, Leon in Damnation. You did the motion cap for him. I was wondering if you had worked with Matt or if you had met Matt before, knowing that he was going to do the voice.
Yeah, I've probably worked on 2 or 3 games with Matt just over the years, so we've become pretty good friends.
Oh, okay. What other games have you guys worked on together?
We worked on Shadowfall.
Okay.
What else? I wouldn't even know what the games were. I just know that I run into them
right
on days of work.
It makes sense. With the busy schedule and everything. So
yeah.
So I guess let's see. Yeah, talking about Matt, you never met Erin before that either, right? You guys did all attend the premiere together, though?
Yes, yeah, that was the first time that I met Erin.
How after you guys watched it, how did you feel about the scenes of how your characters interacted?
I felt great. I mean, I think that Alexander Von David, the booth director, I think he did a really good job of kind of making sure that it sounded like we were on set doing these scenes together, when
right.
actuality we were, alone in a booth.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely, with my performance, I think I definitely noticed that I got more comfortable as the film went on, because
mm-hmm.
I was very nervous about stepping back into this role, and it was so important to me to do a good job that,
right.
I did a lot of prep work beforehand, and
I think that's going to be very appreciated as well by the fans, that you cared so deeply about the role to give the best performance. So.
Yeah. How could you not? Gosh.
Right. Yeah. Well, not Leon, but Chris. I mean, he was the first real male protagonist and the hero, and was such a large part of the franchise and everything.
Yeah.
So, and I think him and Leon are kind of on par for who runs the series.
Yeah, definitely.
They both have a lot of entries into the games. So the next question we have, you want to take this one here, Sev?
The movie was released in Japan in May, and then received a one-night only theatrical release, as well as a digital release in North America in June. The DVD Blu-ray release is on July 18th, and a large amount of the fan base has probably seen the movie, but there are some that are waiting for the hard copy release. Is there anything you would like to say to the fans about the movie in general?
I guess just that I from this film I have this overwhelming kind of sense of pride, and that doesn't necessarily come from my work in it. It just comes from the fact that I have a lot of friends that worked on it in different facets.
Okay.
And in this film, everything really just, to me, it came together so well. There's the cheese of Resident Evil, but it's done
right.
in the perfect way.
Right.
The action is a little over the top, but
a little,
but it's perfect in the way that it's
right,
over the
right.
top.
It works.
It's all great action, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you work on projects, especially in the video game world, and you work on the project and you give it your all, and you kind of, when it comes out, you're like, oh, I hope this is going to be good. And,
right.
but this is one that after seeing it, I was I was like, yes, that is awesome. I'm so happy that I worked on that, and I'm so happy that I got to be a part of it.
Yeah, we've seen it a few times, and I really do enjoy it a lot. It came out really great, and I like to listen, especially knowing that I get a chance to talk to you guys after the fact and do the interview. I really key on your performance, and you nailed it, Chris. You did a great job.
Yeah, really good job.
Oh, thank you.
And then, we were
Thank you.
watching Damnation again the other night because when I was doing my research, I was like, wow, I didn't even know he did the motion capture for Leon. And so I went back and watched it. I was like, man, you really kicked ass.
Oh, yeah.
It was
all
really
action
good.
all
So
the way through, just nonstop.
it was great.
It was awesome.
Oh, thank you.
So working on Mocap and stunts, we had a fan question. They were wondering, this comes from, let's see, Tongview asked, did you have any prior stunt training for Mocap in general, before Mocap, or just any stunt training? And have you ever studied anything like the martial arts or parkour?
I have not done either of those. I came into motion capture as an actor, and then I guess, just the nature of motion capture, you end up doing kind of some stunty things.
Right.
I actually, when I was in college, I wasn't going to be able to graduate in 4 years. So my sophomore year, I found a mime intensive school that I could go to in the summers, and I could get credit for it.
Right.
So that I could graduate in 4 years.
Okay.
And that training, that mime training, is what has completely made my career.
Interesting. So you were a mime at one point too.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I guess that helps.
It's not really the mime that you think of, the guy in the box,
right.
And,
Okay.
pulling the rope and stuff. It's very kind of, it was character movement,
like physical acting, basically.
Yeah, physical acting, physical performance.
Okay.
And had no idea that motion capture even existed at that point, or was a career opportunity.
Right.
And then that's now that I am doing that helped me so much.
Interesting, because looking, I didn't know this. Again, this is all through my research, but I found out that you did Adam on Real Steel, which was such a cool part. I mean, we're a fan of that movie. My son loves it. My wife and I have watched it several times, and it's just neat. I get to talk to the guy that brought Adam to life. And it's such a cool thing. Yeah, we don't see your appearance on the screen, but we get to see you and how you brought this character to life like that. So it's really, really cool. Great work on that, by the way, too. Adam was awesome. So.
Thank you.
So the next question we have here is, what are some of your most memorable experiences while working on Vendetta? Erin had some really cool stories, so I'm wondering if you have anything, not just the work part, but maybe around the premiere or anything interesting.
I think for me the most memorable thing will be just hanging out with the cast afterwards. We've done a few panels, a few appearances,
right.
And getting to be with your castmates around people who really enjoyed something that you worked on together is it's a really cool experience to be able to share that with kind of the team that you created it with.
Yeah, I can imagine all the hard work that went into it, and just being, like you said, proud of it and enjoying that experience, the completion of it, just the getting to see the result, and then afterwards celebrating that together has got to be an awesome time.
Yeah.
Okay, so were you not just outside of Vendetta, but as you've done so many entries in different types of things in Resident Evil, in the Resident Evil universe, what would you think is some of your best experiences through as a whole?
Kind of a little bit the same answer. I would say as a whole, just the people that I've worked with.
Right.
Most of the games that I've worked on, Ruben has been involved in some facet, and Ruben is a dear friend of mine. So
I'm gonna have to get in contact with Ruben.
He's a great guy, great to chat with. But getting to work with him is always a pleasure, and getting to create a character with him for the first time on Vendetta is like a dream come true. I texted him so many times, like, we finally get to be the same person.
Right. That's awesome. Is it weird to I talked to a couple other people about this, but is it weird to see when you see the final product, to hear your voice and to see somebody else doing the movements in a completely, like, you're doing Chris as such a big character, but is it odd being a voice actor and even a motion capture to see somebody else doing the movements, but you're doing the voice and seeing this character come to life on screen?
Not usually, but I think in this instance, because motion capture has come so far and so much nuance is captured in a performance,
Right.
And because I know Ruben so well, I can pick out his mannerisms.
Right.
So that definitely is, hearing my voice and kind of slipping into that as the character, and then seeing some mannerisms of Ruben. It is a little schizophrenic to watch.
Little offsetting, but it's got to be really just awesome, cool feeling to see it,
Yeah, for sure.
And bring Chris in this new light, this new way.
Yeah, and Ruben is a legend, so getting to see my voice on something that he created is pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I could totally see that. Kevin, were you ever actually contacted about the new Resident Evil 7 game and portraying Chris in that one?
I was not.
Okay, that's one that a lot of people were curious about because they've taken it in such a different direction. They were wondering if you or Roger or anybody had been really, contacted and asked to come back and do Chris again, especially with Vendetta being so close to 7 and the release time.
Yeah, and I don't have. I know there's a lot of thoughts of what that could have been and if it was Chris and all that, and a lot of people have talked to me about it. I don't have any information on it.
About it. Do you have an opinion on it? Have you played 7?
I have not, but I've watched a lot of the videos.
Right.
I think Capcom came out with a official statement that it was Chris.
Oh, okay.
I believe I might be making that up. I believe somebody told me that. So
yeah,
don't quote me on that.
Right, and they're supposed to release a DLC soon explaining his part and all this, but it's such a drastic change from what we know.
Yeah.
Chris hasn't always looked the same from the beginning. He's had some changes. He's gone through the steroid version to, the newer, what I like to call the CrossFit version,
Yeah.
where he's leaner and moves better. But now it's completely different. And a lot of this is because of the technology they're using with the new engine and the new studio.
Yeah.
So it's just a shock, I guess. And we were all kind of hoping to get some familiarity back with something like this.
I think mainly the storyline going on towards the
Yeah.
end, how much he's changed and
Right.
what is he fighting for now,
Exactly.
Yeah, and Capcom is usually does hold things like that very dear to them, and
Right.
and so that's why I was kind of shocked to think that is Chris, because that doesn't seem normal for Capcom to make that drastic of a change.
Yeah, it's pretty drastic. I guess he does kind of look like the original Chris in a way, but it's just so different because we've seen this new version of Chris for, 12 years now, maybe?
Yeah.
And it's just, he looks completely different from what we know. I guess the last question here, Seb, if you want to take this one.
Yeah, of all the characters you have done work on, which one was one of your favorite characters you portrayed?
And I'm not just saying this, but it is definitely Chris, and for the reasons that I explained earlier, just that
your attachment to him.
Yeah, I knew this character back when I was a kid, when I was dreaming of acting, but never in a million years thought that I would get the opportunity to do it as a career. So it's just that's like the one thing in my career where I wish I could go back and tell myself something. I wish I could walk up to me and my brother playing those games and say, "Hey, you see that guy?
That's gonna be you.
You are gonna get to voice that character one day." And I probably would have been like, "What? Call the cops! What's going on?"
Right.
Well, it's like at least now you can say that, oh, hey, that game you're playing, to someone out of nowhere, that's me that's there. Me. I'm Chris Redfield,
Yeah.
It's kind of the same for me. As a kid playing the games and being such a fan for so long, I never would have expected that 20 years later I'd be able to actually talk to the voice and the talent behind it. And to, just, it's so surreal to hear you guys and talk to you guys. And in my head, I'm picturing Chris right now.
Right, exactly.
It's a weird but awesome feeling. So we have a couple fan questions. The first one comes from, it looks like he put COL like Colonel Johnny P. Montano. So, Colonel, this is for you. He's asked, what do you like about Chris Redfield's personality, and would you ever do a live-action movie as Chris?
To the first part, I think the thing that I like most about Chris's personality is the fact that he he cannot do anything but what is right. And it doesn't matter what's happened in his life. He always goes back to helping humanity.
Right. He's very much
even in the
Captain
times
America.
when he's
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's not for fame or for notoriety or for anything other than the fact that he just genuinely wants to use his skills to help people.
Yeah, that's the truth.
And then would I play him in a live action film? Absolutely.
You look like you're a skinnier guy. I don't know if you how much muscle you must have on you. I mean, you're fit, but you might have to bulk up for him.
Yeah, I would have to definitely get some performance enhancers.
Right. Get into that CrossFit roll or
some
something.
extra protein in the meal there.
There you go.
So the next question comes. Well, we actually asked this one from Tongview. I got one. Mr. TD. His name is a little inappropriate for
the channel here.
to name off, so I'm calling him Mr. TD from YouTube. You know who you are. He wants to know, since you've worked as Chris, and technically you've worked as Chris in 2 installments with Rebecca, sort of, from Umbrella Chronicles and then to now. Is there any kind of love interest between Chris and Rebecca, in your own opinion, as a fan as well?
In my own opinion, I think Rebecca would be the ideal person for Chris, and I think he even knows that himself. Mm-hmm. But like I was saying before, I think he knows his calling in life maybe is not conducive to having a relationship with somebody, but I think he deeply cares about Rebecca, and I think if things were different, he would be doing all that he could to lock her down. Right.
How do you think, again, and this is as a fan thing, maybe where does Jill fit into that? In your thoughts?
I don't know. Gosh, I guess you just always go with what's most recent, and I think that I've had to do, in preparation, so much thinking about Rebecca and Chris's relationship with Rebecca that's probably why I would default to Rebecca.
You're going for the Chris Ecca relationship here?
Yeah.
Right. That makes sense. And the last question comes from Eddie D. Hart. Wants to know if you would like to return to portray Chris in any future CGI or game installments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Roger is an amazing Chris voice, and yeah. I definitely, when I see Chris still, I hear Roger's voice. Right. So I'm very happy that I got to do this game. But I'll also be very happy if Roger continues to do, or got to do this movie. I'll be happy if Roger continues to do the games as well.
As a voice actor and working on a character that somebody else has also voiced, do you manipulate yourself at all in your work to kind of mirror what they've done?
Yeah. So for Umbrella Chronicles, obviously we were trying to match a voice from before, and the way that I approached this game was kind of looking at the voice actors who have played this character before me as a progression, and I needed to fit into that progression and not be drastically different from what had come before. So I took what I did on Umbrella Chronicles and kind of mixed it with Roger's progression, and then tried to put my own spin on it so that the progression would keep moving forward, and also to kind of get my own imprint on it.
Right. To make it yours, but still stay true to the character.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it is, and knowing that Roger has been voicing Chris, and the fans absolutely love Roger for all the right reasons, I did not want to break completely from what Roger has been doing.
Right. Not until they made Resident Evil 7 and just broke everybody's.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's kind of what I figured, but I guess hearing it from you guys saying that you respect everybody else's portrayal and you bring your own flavor, but you also stay true to the character. So
yeah.
And it seems like you have a lot of respect for the franchise and the other people who have done the work in it as well. So it's nice to talk to another fan who actually gets a chance to be involved in it. So
yeah.
All right, well, that's pretty much all of our questions. We tried to keep it as quick as possible, and we got to have some discussion on some topics, which was nice. Is there any closing words you'd like to put out there about the movie or Resident Evil or just to the fans in general?
Yeah, just to the fans, thank you so much for everybody being so loyal to this franchise for so long and allowing it to continue this long. which gave me the opportunity to voice a character that I loved when I was a child. So thank you, everyone, and I hope this movie is a good tribute to these characters and this storyline, and yeah.
Well, thank you again. Would you be willing to come back in a future episode to do like a spoiler review with Erin? She had talked about it. I don't know if it's something we can coordinate, but it would be awesome to have you both on here.
Yeah, it would.
You know, just to get you guys' take, because we're going to do a review of it, but we definitely want to do a full discussion. And if you're available, we'll work it out and see if there's a time slot that we can get you guys both in here. And we're trying to get Matt as well, but Matt's a hard guy to track down. So he's a busy guy. So again, thank you. And
I would love to.
Good luck on your future work. Is there anything we should be looking for? Anything you have coming out here?
Not that I can talk about, I don't think. Yeah, not that I can talk about, unfortunately. Sorry.
Okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. Oh, we obviously have Vendetta, which is coming out on the 18th, and then well, you know, we're all looking forward to whoever hasn't seen it to enjoy the movie, and then whatever you do here in the future. What about any social media? Anything you want any people to follow you on, where they can keep up with you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. I love interfacing with people on Instagram. Kevin Dorman.
Okay.
Twitter is Kevin J. Dorman. I'm not on there as much.
Okay.
So
definitely make sure we all will look for you on Instagram. If we haven't followed you already, we are following you now. So
Yes.
Awesome.
I'm pretty sure I've got you on Twitter, and then I'll make sure I follow you on Instagram. I don't use Instagram too much. I'm a Twitter guy and Facebook guy. But
yeah, I'm trying to learn it. I'm trying to become better at Twitter.
It's amazing how much business takes place in social media now.
Yeah, big time.
So.
We actually get the agents have been pushing us to really boost up our social media, because people will, if there's two people up for a part and it comes down to, man, we just don't know who to pick, they'll start looking at followers and social media and stuff like that.
Right. Who has more buzz with them? Who's more active in the fan base and the community? I think it would probably draw in some more numbers. So, well, again, thank you so much, Kevin. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. We had a blast. We got definitely some good information, and I think people are really going to enjoy this. So,
great. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. So, yeah,
thank you again.
Absolutely.
And we'll follow up with you later. Thank you.
Great. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you so much to Kevin for coming on the show. If you guys want to follow Kevin Dorman on social media, I'll leave the links down below. Remember, guys, the original voice of the one and only Leon S. Kennedy, Paul Haddad, will be joining us on the next Residents of Evil podcast. So if you haven't already subscribed, please do so to be notified when that's released. Alright guys, it's time to announce a winner of a copy of Resident Evil Vendetta on Blu-ray. Alright, here we go. Lord T, you are the winner. Again, that's Lord T. I will be getting a hold of you on my announcement video and get your address so I can send you a copy. Again, thank you so much to everyone that liked, commented, shared, and subscribed. You will have a chance to win on the next giveaway that will be coming up soon, so stay tuned for that. If you want to follow the Residents of Evil on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, or Instagram, you can do so at ROE Network. I'll leave the links down below. If you want to check out some of our previous podcasts, I'll leave the link to the playlist above. And if you would like to support the Residents of Evil, I'll leave a link to that, or you can pick up some merch from our new Redbubble site. All donations are very appreciated and will go towards improving content such as podcasts, live streams, video, etc. Every little bit helps so much. Alright guys, thanks again for listening, and I hope to see you back at the Residents of Evil.